Hey everybody, it's Nikki. I'm back to read a couple more books this week. Thank you for joining me. Um, right. So, this week we have Little Women, and a funny thing happened at the museum. So, for those of you who are just joining us, if this is your first time, my name is Nikki, and I'm a museum curator for the National Park Service, as you can see on my shirt here. And I'm coming to you live from my house, which happens to be decorated with a national park theme. So it is the perfect place to read books. So let me just adjust that. There we go. So we generally read 2 books a week, and we will be continuing as long as we can with this. So as always, thank you for joining. And if you have any questions, comments, book suggestions, just leave those in the comment section right there. So we're going to get started with Little Women. And I picked this book right here. This is Little Miss Alcott, Little Women, a Playtime primer by Jennifer Adams and art by Allison Oliver. And so Little Women is a really, really great story written by Louisa May Alcott. She was an author. She lived in Concord, Boston, Harvard, all the areas around where I live. So I'm a big, big fan. And she wrote this story. It was based on her family. So her sisters and all of their adventures that they had growing up. And the house that they grew up in is the Wayside, and that's a part of Minuteman National Historical Park. So you can actually go online, nps.gov/MIMA, and you can see pictures of where Louisa May and her sisters would put on plays for their friends and family, and where all of these shenanigans, if you will, took place. So we're going to start with this book right here. It is, like I said, a Playtime primer, so you're not going to get the whole story, but it's a good little overview. It's fun. It's really, really sweet. It's a good book. Singing. The first sound in the morning was Marmie's voice as she went about the house singing like a lark. So this is their mother. They called her Marmie. And this is a quote from the book about how she would wake up and she would sing. Do any of you wake up and sing? My son loves to wake up and sing his ABCs. That's how I get woken up most mornings. Could be worse. Gardening. Gardening walks, rows on the river, and flower hunts employed the fine days. I love this quote, especially for right now. I would love to get out and garden, go for walks, see the river, go on flower hunts, scavenger hunts to find things. Look at all these great images right here. Have you been out on a nature walk? Sewing. Meg sat sewing at her little work table. You can see this picture right here. Her sewing scissors and her needles and thread, and a cat playing with a ball of yarn. Picnicking. Tea parties didn't amount to much. Neither did picnics, unless very well conducted. Have you ever had a picnic? It might be a good time to have a picnic with your family while you're social distancing. Writing. Jo was writing away at her novel with all of her heart and soul. Zoom in a little bit. You see the light, the pen, and the ink. As an archaeologist and a museum curator, we find inkwells and parts of pens, so we know people were using them to write. Dancing. Who here is a dancer? Anyone? They had a grand polka, for Laurie danced well. They had a big dance party. You can see this really great boot. Sometimes museum curators find boots in old houses, in the walls or in the floorboards, because people would often put them down there or in the walls for good luck, to ward off bad luck. So Sometimes we find shoes in the walls. It's great. Playing. Beth loved music so dearly and practiced away so patiently at the jingling old instrument. She was a musician. Are any of you a musician? Do you like to play the piano? Hopefully for your parents' sake, you don't play the recorder, but maybe you do, and maybe you're very good at it. Hopefully you play something a little quieter during quarantine, though. Skating. What good times they had, to be sure. Such sleigh rides and skating frolics. So Louisa May Alcott and her sisters enjoyed ice skating. And they would go out in the winter when Walden Pond would freeze, and they would go ice skating on Walden Pond. And you can go visit that very pond. It's owned by the state of Massachusetts. Drawing. Amy put on her best white frock, smoothed her curls, and sat down to draw under the honeysuckle. Do you like to draw? Reading. I know you like reading because you're joining me here today. Joe spent the morning on the river with Lori and the afternoon reading up in the apple trees. If that doesn't sound like a slice of heaven, I don't know what does. If I have any free time right now, I'm going to be sitting under the apple trees reading a book for sure. And that's the end. So again, that was Little Women, originally by Louisa May Alcott. And this book is a Playtime primer, and it was by Jennifer Adams, and the art was by Allison Oliver. Very great artwork in this book. Beautiful. And some very cool little tidbits from Little Women. If you are interested in seeing more of Little Women, there is a movie that just came out. I'm by no means biased, but there are also movies that have come out previously that you can watch and get the full story. And you can also read the book. I haven't even gotten a chance to read the book yet. Hey, Candy. All right, so we're going to start on our second book of the day. And as a museum curator, I need to tell you that I do not advise doing anything in a museum that this little boy does. That being said, it's a fun, silly book. It's called A Funny Thing Happened at the Museum. And it's by Darrell Cowley and Benjamin Cald. See right there. He's already off to a good start. He missed his bus. Let's see what the day has in store. There we go. So, what did you think of our museum field trip, Henry? There's Henry. Well, it wasn't exactly what I expected. As soon as I walked in, I was charged by a triceratops. Fortunately, I sought safety among a family of Neanderthals. Right there. I don't think he's supposed to be playing in the museum exhibits. What do you think? Probably not. To thank them for their help, I entertained them with my balloon folding skills. Well, that's just silly. I know for a fact balloons don't belong in the Neanderthal exhibit. This is a very silly book. But then I was, no touchy as Jen says, but then I was chased away by a herd of buffalo. Well, that's just crazy. What's a herd of buffalo doing in the museum? Suddenly, there was a loud boom. A volcano's going off in the museum. I have a lot of questions about their emergency operations plan, and their scope of collections is a little crazy too, but we'll let that go. So they have buffalo and a volcano. So I ran out of there as fast as I could, but I accidentally broke something along the way. This is why you don't run in museums, kids. Don't want to break the dinosaurs or the priceless china. I tried my best to put it all back together. Uh-oh. I don't think he got it quite right. What do you think? That looks like his very silly dinosaur. Then I was briefly detained by a live sculpture. Thankfully, I was rescued by another one. That's good. We don't advise playing with the sculptures. After all that action, I decided to catch my breath. Look, there he is, just sitting in an exhibit. What a silly kid. Then I got into an unusual stairwell. Do you recognize that artwork right there? The stairs? He's really getting into art, if you will. That led to a secret passage. Look at that. Did he find a room full of ghosts? Nope. Just museum storage right here. So a lot of what you see that museums have aren't on exhibit because they have a lot of different things that they like to switch out so that one thing doesn't just get seen all the time, and so they always have exciting exhibits. So they have collection storage, and that's primarily where I work, and we take care of all the objects that aren't currently on exhibit and the ones that are. Whoa! It was a real mess down there, so I just had to put things in order. Oh man, sounds like a few of my friends, to be honest. I really cleaned all over. You can see he's cleaning on the whale. So museum curators do clean, but we don't use the same products that you necessarily would in your own home. We need to be mindful and make sure we're not wrecking any of the art or the sculpture or the natural history specimens like this. And I took care of a few other things too. Well, that's just silly. He's giving the mastodon a haircut. What a silly kid. I happened to notice that some paintings weren't finished. Oh no, Henry. I really applied myself. Henry shows a lot of potential, but we don't advise editing artwork that's already been completed. By then, it was getting late, and I needed to find our class. Oh no, look, he's stuck. He's stuck in an hourglass. How did he even get in there? I had no problem spotting them. Can you spot Henry? Up here. But joining them wasn't as easy. Uh-oh, he's stuck. Luckily, I discovered a way to reach them very quickly. Now he's in a catapult. Silly kid. But I probably misunderstood the instructions. There you go. Now he's flying over his class. And I landed in a totally unexplored territory. Your comments are killing me today, you guys. Keep it up. Suddenly, I felt far away from everybody. He's in outer space. He's in the outer space exhibit, and it's all tangled. But that didn't last long. Uh-oh. Now he's rolling out the front stairs with some of the exhibits. We definitely don't approve of that. And that is what happened at the museum. Well, Henry, it sounds like you had fun after all. Maybe one day, too, you will be an artist. Who, me? Oh, no. I really don't think so. Meanwhile, he completely transformed the museum. Not recommended. And there you have it. A funny thing happened at the museum. So thank you for joining. It was really fun reading these two books. I hope you enjoyed Little Women and A Funny Thing Happened at the Museum. I have a spoiler alert for next week because my loyal people tuning in here. This book right here, If I Were a Park Ranger, So we're going to talk all about the different jobs in the National Park Service. Aside from just being a museum curator, there's a lot of different things that you can do. And we're also going to read Goodnight, Statue of Liberty. Did you know that the Statue of Liberty was a national park site? It is. And we're going to get to know the statue a little bit better next week. So tune in, 9 a.m. live. We'll also be playing this over again on our Facebook page. So for those of you on the West Coast, where it's 6 a.m., can watch it later. And if you really want to, you can rewatch this anytime you want on our page. So we want to send a big shout out to all of our healthcare workers, nurses, doctors, first responders, everyone who's out there on the front lines helping. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for doing that so that we can stay home. Follow CDC guidelines. I won't throw my boss under the bus on this one today. It is important. Wash your hands, stay away from folks, stay inside, read books. Little Women just gave you about 10 ideas of different activities that you can do, from music to writing to reading to gardening to sewing. You can try it all. So stay inside, wash your hands, and if you have any comments, questions, just post them right in the comment section. If you have any suggestions on books, we want to hear that too. And we will talk to you all next week. Thank you for joining. I'm Nikki. Have a good one, everyone.